Every parent in the land needs to know exactly why social services and the judiciary have failed monogamous relationships and families. Parents, just the same as every other social animal in the world, will chastise and reprimand their children for anti-social behaviour. The problem is when a child goes to school and mentions anything that went on at home, then it depends on who's actually hearing this and who's actually reporting. The schools have to abide by due diligence, and that involves statutory reporting. In other words, they must report everything to social services, no matter what. So when parents are monitoring their children's behaviour, they don't realise that anything they say and do will be reported. It's very much like something that went on in the 1930s. Now, I won't go dwelling on about something like that, but look it up. This is how they did things. This is how they got to know secrets about people. This is how they got into other people's homes and other people's lives, and how they found out all sorts of things about people by persuading children to tell tales on their parents. And that's what they're doing right now in this country today. As when it comes to recording these incidents as serious incidents, it is another long word called ethnocentric reporting. In other words, it depends on who you are, where you come from and what your heritage is, whether or not they might report it or not. But from my perspective, thinking about it from a children's point of view, they've mentioned something everyday routine going on at home or happened at home, and then pretty soon they lost one or both their parents because of that. How does that child feel? What is the effect? What effect does that have on a child? Well, of course, they grow up to believe that that they've done something wrong, very, very wrong to start with, and then all these other people come along and convince the child that their parents cannot be trusted. One or both their parents cannot be trusted. And that one or both their parents willfully neglected them, abused them, touched them inappropriately, brutalised them. All these different accusations will come through. And the child may have no recollection of ever being anything like that whatsoever. That's the kind of world that children are growing up in, where they're too afraid to say anything and they can't trust anyone, and everyone that looks at them, everything that happens, everyone who touches them is sexually abusing them or beating them. This is why the United Kingdom has a higher rate of child suicides than any other country in the world. It is the main cause of death for British children from the age of 5 years old to the age 45. We've heard of children 3 and 3.5 self-harming, and little boys at 4 trying to hang themselves because they believe that they've destroyed their mummy and daddy. They've destroyed their family. They're not allowed to see their daddy anymore, or they're not allowed to see their mummy anymore because of what they did. A pratfall of clowns scavenge every opportunity that social services throw at them so that they can get involved in destroying this family at the very core of what a family actually means. In other words, the love and trust in each other. These are organisations that allegedly raise awareness. The domestic violence, they offer therapy. These organisations are persuading adults parents and children to make false claims against one or both parents. One example of this, just for illustration, was a guy who was talking to his 12-year-old daughter, as she was at the time. And he said that when he was in court, applying for residency and such, the barrister told the court that he had sexually molested her. And before she was 3 years old, when she couldn't remember it, she was too young to remember it. And some of the things that the dad was actually doing to her, like giving her a hug and a kiss and all these different things, were actually sexual abuse. And obviously she denied all this, and she said, well, no, I never felt anything sexual at all coming from her father. And so they insisted that because she was too young and she'd been brought up with it, she'd been groomed and she had been seriously sexually molested before she was 3 years old. Now I want you to think about that kind of situation from the child's perspective. I know a lot of parents out there have been through this and you know exactly what I'm talking about. But the child is then in a situation where they believe that something they said or something they did invoked the social services and judiciary and everybody else to get rid of their father, to destroy and upset their father or their mother or both. And so that child feels guilty. A lot of children who have been abused and genuinely abused, they feel guilty. They feel as if they've done something wrong. Now compound that onto some child who believes or doesn't actually know what they did wrong or didn't realise anybody was doing anything wrong. The confusion, the trauma and anxiety that they go through. And then along come the clowns again and say, well, you need therapy, because this is the way things are in the world and you must learn to deal with it. Well, actually, this is totally appalling. They're creating a world that is unbearable for children, and then they're giving them therapy in the hope of convincing them how to deal with it. This is what we've come to now. We're living in an impossible world where people are being very aggressive, vindictive, evil people, perpetrating all sorts of emotional and psychological abuse on children, and then we're giving them therapy to make it all right. It doesn't make it all right. Not at all. It's so distressing. The children have nothing to look forward to. They've lost all trust and faith in their own parents because they've been convinced that the parents, or one or both the parents, did something horrific to them, and they don't know how to cope with it. They don't know how to deal with that. They don't understand it, for one thing. By contrast, I want you to think about a normal average family as they used to be. Man, woman, falling in love, having children, caring and loving for each other. They brought children into the world and they taught them how to love and respect each other as a family. And that's the way things usually work. What these people are doing is something so sinister and vile. I can only say they're trying to destroy the heterosexual family, and they have succeeded. So we're on the second generation of children who've been taught to distrust all men, to despise men who are untrustworthy and unlovable. They've been told that they have no hope whatsoever of having a loving, caring relationship that will last them for the rest of their lives. They have no idea what that will be like. Some of them, the children, will have multiple so-called stepfathers, and they will expect the same when they grow up. We need to teach our children how to love and how to respect each other. Parents can start by respecting each other and showing children this is how adults are supposed to behave. This is how adults learn and how children learn to love each other and respect each other and enjoy a loving, caring relationship for the rest of their lives. It's not a dream, it's not a movie, it's reality, and it is possible. Start respecting each other, please. Teach your children how to love. Thanks for listening.